What's going on? Good afternoon, everybody. This is GC3, and I'm in the place to be, lovely Arizona. Gotta love this weather. I mean, this weekend is going to be super busy. We have the All Star game there at South Mountain Community College on the women's on Friday night, but more importantly, on Saturday, we're going to be having the spring warm up, which is my spring team showcase. But, anyways, on to the reason why we're here. First of all, I've been promising you guys look, part of the rebrand, if you guys don't know, I sold GC3 Hoops to New Image Sports. So they own the event side, but I'm still involved as a creative director and collaborator. And now I actually got hired on with Vision Sports Network. So that's a lovely thing. So you notice there's a little bit of a brand change. There's going to be more of a transition going into the summer. But anyways, moving forward, April is a big month for us. We got the viewing period next weekend, and we also have a window for exposure. So I'm going to bring on a good friend of mine. This guy, we have a long-standing relationship. He's coaching now. He's transitioning into being a scout and evaluator. But without further ado, here's my guy, Coach Lombardi. Coach, how you doing, sir?
Big George, I'm doing good. I've been anticipating coming on here and spending some time with you. I love what you're doing with your podcasts and all the new things that you got going on. It's really exciting, and so I've been really excited to get on board with you on here and chat some girls basketball.
Absolutely. No, I'm just glad that you can make it on. I know you're super busy, as we all are. But first off, let's talk about the Southern AZ Hoops review. I mean, you've been, I kind of encourage you, hey, let's try to get in because you'll be my eyes and ears down in Tucson. I mean, I do cover Tucson, but I'm all over the place. So, I'm glad that I have somebody I can rely on at home that knows all the kids with your coaching background in club and high school. So maybe tell the audience the big things going on with Southern Arizona Hoops review.
Oh yeah. So thank you. So about a year ago, George, I started really thinking seriously about getting into this, and I reached out to you, and we started talking, and you were like, "Hey, I could really use someone, in Southern Arizona to cover that area because it's there's not a lot of coverage for girls basketball in particular out here." So I was really interested in doing that. I just didn't know what it was going to look like and how much time I could put into it. So year later, fast forward to now, I just, even though I'm venturing into it pretty slow, I just love it. I really do. I love this side of things. I wrapped up coaching a couple months ago, and I've transitioned into this more full time now. And you and I have talked a lot about stuff that we've got going on in the future. And so I'm into shifting in full time now and to working this side of it. And so this has really been exciting. And the fun part is, well, I have to say, George, I really appreciate the fact that you've kind of taken me under your wing, and you've been a very good friend to me and a good mentor as I'm learning, the ropes on this side of stuff. And you've really helped me out a lot as I've been, getting going in this business. So I really appreciate that.
No, absolutely. I mean, you've been loyal. You've been super supportive of my platform. What's funny is, we all have to get our start somewhere. And today I'm wearing where I got my start, Arizona Preps, Anthony Ray. Anthony Ray gave me my start about almost 5 years ago. And, a temporary assignment working for him turned into what it is today with the GC3 brand. And I'm very appreciative of him. And I'm kind of in the same boat. I want to try to go out there and help and build up others and work as one, because ultimately I understand the business. You can't just have the one guy. run everything. There's too many kids, and it's counterproductive. And you were a big part of my career in becoming that household name in women's basketball in the Southwest. I remember it was like a year or two ago. You had Achol Magot playing for your club program, and when you had your prep team. And I remember that. I still remember that phone call. You reached out to me one evening. You're like, George, man, I need some help. I'm like, oh, what can I do? And you asked me, what is your honest assessment of Achol? And I go, she's a Division I player. She's an elite high major just based on her size and potential. And you're just like, I'm just not understanding. Nobody, calls on here. I said, well, give me 2 weeks. Send me over whatever film you have. Let me make some calls and send some emails, and let me get on the phones. And I went from calling my cousin Adam Tandish, shout out to him, who's the associate head coach there at Northern Illinois, and he's another coach that when I have my list to come out of impactful assistants around the country, he's due for a head job. He does a fantastic job recruiting, but I guess that year his classes were already committed to other players, and she was kind of an unknown. And I ended up calling a guy I used to play basketball against growing up. He's an assistant at Cal State Fullerton, um, and I called Nick, and the same thing. He's like, "Who's offering her?" And I'm like, "Well, you are. You're my friend. Like, come on, throw me a favor." And people really don't know. They think like parents and parents and kids thinks that offers just fall off trees like fruit, like the oranges and lemons here in Arizona. No, it doesn't. It is hard to get an offer.
George, and I'm glad that you brought this up because this is really important for a lot of people to hear. I was on the coaching side. I had a D1 prospect, and we weren't getting a lot of attention. A lot of parents think, well, you go playing an AAU tournament or whatever, and college coaches are going to see, and offers are going to start coming. That was not how it worked with Achol when we first started with her. I had her when her sophomore year, after basketball season, all the way through her senior year. She's 6'6", right? And she could get up and down the floor, and she was a skilled player. Nobody knew about her, but this is the thing that a lot of people don't realize that I wanted to get out there was you were the one that started making calls. You started posting highlight reels that I was sending you, and Texas Tech ended up getting a hold of you because of stuff that they, word went through the grapevine. They saw some stuff that you were posting. You had talked to them. Literally a couple days later, Coach Eric Eli out of Texas Tech called me, and we spoke for about an hour and a half about Achol, and that's how her recruiting process got started. You were the guy that spearheaded that, and so when we're talking about exposure and college recruiting and showcase events and things like that, you and I are coming at it with some experience with it. We've dealt with this before. Achol ended up signing with Texas Tech. She had 7 D1 offers, I believe. A lot of them were pretty solid offers, and Texas Tech is a Power 5 big time college program. So you were the guy. So after that, we're still dealing with COVID. We're getting out of COVID. We're 3-4 years away from it now, and things are kind of getting back to normal. In fact, they're getting bigger. So this is the time for girls high school basketball in Arizona for really to start clicking, because it's just starting to explode, especially, with the Final Four last weekend. The amount of viewers that the Final Four got in the championship game were just off the charts. So, but again, I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to get that story out there because a lot of people don't know about that.
No, absolutely. I appreciate that. I mean, again, there's a lot of, again, I get it with the business, it's, there's people that are in the business trying to compete. And, again, I had the opportunity, you gave me the opportunity with Achol to get that opportunity to get her and then to just advise and just try to promote her. And it was a domino effect. Like, I remember you're calling like, George, I'm getting excited. These guys are starting to call a lot. I go, they're going to offer her. I already know. I said, just be ready, because what's going to happen is they're already following her schedule. I already know how the business works. The assistant coaches will be at that viewing event. And why is Texas Tech? Why are they going to court 32? Like everybody's on court 1 through 8. Why are they going on cross? So I guarantee that's what happened with the other D1s. It's like, oh, and then all of a sudden they're watching her. Okay, we're what did we miss? And I mean, I even remember. I'm not going to mention the name of the school, but I remember, I went down to one of your practices to talk to your programs. And at first, the one school was kind of like, who is this dude? Who is this goon with the slick back hair and looking like, Tony Soprano? But once they started to realize, they're all like, oh man. And then we had a conversation afterward, because the other school and we sat, we talked, and we talked for a while, and he knows, because of mutual connections that I have with other people in the business, that, because I've been all over the country evaluating, talent all over the West Coast. But, then they kind of warmed up to me, and I started name dropping. I said, hey, contact them and ask them about me. And, sure enough, one of the coaches texted that mutual contact that we had, and her eyes got big afterward. I was like, oh man, like it was she was apologetic. I was like, no, don't apologize. You didn't know. It's all good, because I get it. In the business, there's a lot of guys trying to come up. And I said, I may come across as like I'm really a really nice guy if you really get to know me. So that's
Yes, you
the
are.
story.
Yeah, and us going through that process, right? D1 process. I was literally getting phone calls. My wife can attest to this at dinner time, weird hours, wanting to talk about Achol, and it was a great experience for me, where I got to talk to Division I college coaches, and we got to develop relationships, and I kind of learned a little bit about what they're looking for, how this all works. And it's not what a lot of people think, George. And the thing is, you and I have some insight on how the recruiting process works with college coaches. And I've had quite a few players that have come through my programs that are playing college basketball. She was the only big time D1 recruit, but we've had experience dealing with this, and it's important that you know that, so that you can, one, be credible when you're evaluating talent, and when you do go to coaches and recommend players, that you have a level of experience, that they know what you're talking about. So it was a great experience going through that the whole year. And that's really what kind of got me thinking about getting into this side of it. One was you being able to do that for her, and two, it's just kind of time for me to transition. I've been coaching for a long time, and it's time for to take a new path.
No, absolutely. And no, again, I'm forever grateful for you. I mean, that was the first. I mean, I've had a bunch of kids. I mean, I don't have to brag and throw. There's been a lot. I mean, I've even had some prospects I've helped. My first year in the scouting, I got 3 girls who played college ball, semi-pro opportunities, and that same league pumped out girls to play overseas. And I had my girl Juju Alexander on here as a guest. She played in that same league, the WBA. And the funny thing is, the commissioner is a good friend of mine, Deshaun Woods. I think I've even had him on the
Yeah.
show, and
Yep.
probably going to have to drag him back on the show. So, people don't really realize you know, the the depth of connections that I have in the business, and that's what gets me super excited about. I'm going to pivot to the next part and talking about the FAB100. So Fab
Yes.
100 is going to be my first individual event that I'm involved in. As far as trying, the other two I tried launching, just kind of, it was hard. It's not easy, but I'm super excited. We're pushing, about 50 kids. Super excited for it. And the kids that are coming are going to benefit, because the first half of the day we're going to have skills and drills for the student athletes. during that time in the morning, I have a special guest, Chris Rivers, who he has an abundance of experience from high school and middle school coaching, the AAU coaching, to actually working in the grassroots at an admin level. He was a grassroots director for Adidas and Reebok for many years, being involved with some of the top talent in the country, both on the men's and women's. Now, he's pivoting in his career. He works for a sports management firm and representing pro athletes, both men's and women's. So, and he's going to be a valuable resource to talk to the parents. Again, that's included in this event. To talk about the recruiting process. He can share the ins and outs of even the NIL, because that's what his firm does as well, as name, image, and likeness, which is impacting Arizona. And then afterward, we're going to transition to where the student athletes right before lunch is going to have a seminar workshop with Chris, and is going to talk, he's going to talk and kind of go through, the recruiting process with them so they understand. And then, here's another surprise is I'm giving lunch. So I'm so grateful. I have two big time sponsors. I have Grimaldi's Pizza out there in Gilbert. They're going to be sponsoring some pizzas for the student athletes and the staff. And then Free Yourself Pest Control. My guy, Coach Derek Freeman, who he owns a company, a pest control company, as well as he's the head coach and basketball director at Learning Foundation for the Performing Arts in Gilbert. He's donating the hydration for the weekend. So I'm super grateful that they're going to step up. We're going to give that to the student athletes, as well as, my many sponsors who are sponsoring the T-shirt. So each participant will get a T-shirt to keep, which they'll check in their jerseys. And last but not least, the second half of the day, we're going to have the game. So I'm going to divide all the players into teams. Each player is going to have 2 games to play in front of evaluators such as myself and you, as well as I'm looking at 13 college coaches that are going to be in attendance. So for student athletes that don't have offers or are waiting on D2s or D1s to offer, I mean, this is not a live period, so D2s and D1s can't be present, but I'll have enough NAIAs, JUCOs, Christian colleges there. The biggest thing, the hardest thing to get is your first offer. If you get your first offer, that it gets you on the radar, because everybody in the business knows no college coach will just pop an offer without knowing if the kid is worth it or not to actually compete at that level. So, and then we're going to have a cream of the crop game. So we're going to look for the top 14 players, top 14 players are going to play in the cream of the crop game, which is at the end. And the most awesome thing, which makes it even more exciting, is one of my sponsors, the Southern Arizona Hoops Review, is sponsoring the MVP awards for that, as well as you're giving out Nike gift cards, which that's just super amazing. So, this is the best value. Next year we're going to grow it into a camp where it's going to be a 2-day camp. The skills and drills portion is going to be given by college staff as well. So the staff at Chandler Gilbert Community College is going to work out the student athletes in the morning session. And again, this is not just, I'm not throwing any shade on people who do other showcases, because there's showcases I've been to where they just roll out the balls and there you go. This is going to be organized and there's going to be value. So again, thank you so much, Coach, for sponsoring the awards for this event. I mean, I'm super excited to have you. You're going to be evaluating there, plus myself and 13 other schools. So it's just going to be a good day. One day, solid. And I know next year, once people really see what this event is about and what kind of value it provides, they're going to be like, yeah, why didn't I sign up earlier? Like, man.
Yeah, it's going to build. George, when I was on the coaching side, you hear about showcase events. I'd never taken my players to a showcase event. What you're talking about doing is just phenomenal. First of all, Chris Rivers is worth the price of of the whole thing just by itself. Just the amount of information that he's going to be providing parents and kids as they, if basketball is what they want to do after high school and build their college career and get an education, he's the guy to listen to. The coaches that you're going to have there, I mean, this, there's 50 girls. That may sound like a lot, but that's not a lot of girls. These coaches are going to be able to see every one of you play, every one of the girls play. They're going to see what you can do. You're going to be able to showcase your skills. And you touched on it. You've got to build, as a player, you've got to get interest. You've got to get exposure, and then you've got to get interest from college coaches. And then that leads to offers. And when I was going through the recruiting process with Achol and some other girls, Amelie Buffalo was another pretty highly recruited girl out of Tucson, Sunday Leopoldo, so some other athletes that I've been with. One of the things they asked me is, who's interested in him, who's offered him. I'm telling you that happens. So this is why this is important, and they don't care who it is. I mean, to an extent. I mean, they just want to know, hey, this kid has shown what they can do to a college coach, and that college coach is willing to invest money in them. So that's why this event is just awesome. I'm so excited for it, but I'm really excited for these kids to be able to get this opportunity.
No, again, thank you for your support. I mean, for those who don't know, you've been super instrumental in helping me get this event together, and I'm excited. Like, we're going to grow this. I know, in Tucson, we got some things up our sleeve too, to come down there and provide that exposure, especially in those communities like Southern Arizona, because, those kids are often, are overlooked because, there's so many players in the Valley, up in the Phoenix area. But I know Tucson has talent. I've been covering it, off and on the last few years. Probably one of the only scouts that don't ghost right. I actually go down there and go to the games and watch them play.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. So, and I can vouch for that. He actually comes down here and spends time in the gym. And by the way, that goes unlooked too. The amount of hours that you spend, George, going to high school games and club games. I mean, you're everywhere. That is invaluable to the work that you're doing, because you're seeing these kids firsthand. You're talking to the coaches, you're talking to the parents. That is, a wealth of experience, that you're building with these kids in these programs. So, that's one thing that goes overlooked that you deserve a lot of credit for.
No, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Again, when I see all these kids compete, it just reminds me of myself when I was a student athlete and didn't really have anywhere to turn. So, again, for all of my followers, I apologize. I don't have a volume of posts, but do know if I post about a kid, I actually seen them play. I'm not just looking up their stats and seeing a highlight video. I'm actually really looking and watching them play, because ultimately, I got to report to college coaches. I can't give an accurate assessment of a student athlete if I've never seen them play in person, because there's things you can't see on film that you'll see in person. But anyways, hey, that's pretty much all the time we have today. Coach, I appreciate you joining me again. For all of my viewers and followers, if you haven't followed this guy's account, his Instagram is right there below his name, at SOAZ_hoops review. You can find him on Instagram. And until next time, thank you so much, Coach. I'll see you soon. And
George, thank you. Thank you. We'll see you soon. Keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate you.
Appreciate it. And here's my entrance. Peace out, everybody.